where you will not find a single Boston folk Boston, who agrees with this trade in that city.
I hate it.
I did Canes Insight Live. It's a Miami Hurricane show at 6:30 yesterday, or following Senegal, Belgium, which was bonkers. Didn't talk Miami Hurricanes. It was just all Jaylen Brown.
You got it. You got it.
I mean, what is this trade? Dude, that is an offer that if I were a troll GM, I would have concocted just to waste Brad Stevens' time.
Dan, let me ask you something. If a team called up the Philadelphia 76ers and they said, we will take Paul George and that contract, but we're giving you nothing in return, not a single thing, would the Sixers have said yes?
It's a great question because Paul George is supremely washed, okay? Cheated last year, got caught cheating, and then made the excuse that or the explanation that he's dealing with mental stuff. So whatever we've previously described in a less tolerant and polite culture as a head case in sports, Paul George told you he got suspended because of reasons that he was taking care of his mind because he was feeling frail, and also as a basketball player cannot be trusted anymore to play well. Is not another version of Jaylen Brown. Is a washed, old, expensive former Jaylen Brown. Ton of miles on the Paul George body. Wherever it is that we talk about the Miami Heat getting Giannis Antetokounmpo and there being about 10 guys like that in the NBA, Paul George was one of them, sort of almost, with Indiana a long time ago. Ton of miles on that particular body and mind. But a couple of things I want to cover here because I find some things here genuinely confusing. One of them being this. Boston Celtics management is not dumb. Okay, this is not the Dallas Mavericks management. This is a management with a track record, and this is a general manager who said to himself, I don't want to be the coach of this team. I want to be the boss of this team, and was out ahead of everybody on the numbers, is a prodigy, is a boy wonder, is still someone I think of as young Brad Stevens because he came to us so young. That person just did something that's being universally panned. And my question to the group here is everyone else right? Or does Brad Stevens think he knows something that no one else knows? Haberstro's the only one I saw. And Jeremy, I don't want to read from this article. Numbers make people's head hurt. But leave the room, please, and go to the whiteboard and just crunch for us what it is that Haberstro is writing here. But one of the stats from Haberstro that would make me think that Brad Stevens thinks he knows something that no one else knows, and makes Brad Stevens say, nah, next to Tatum I can find a number 2 who's not that expensive and cheap and isn't a top 5 pick, and I'll make Peyton Pritchard that because we, the Celtics, have a way, the way we're playing basketball, we'll find a cheaper number 2 and he'll be efficient. But this number, the Celtics, when Jaylen Brown did not play, 36-6 in the last 3 seasons. The Celtics must think that they know something to get that out of locker room, a finals MVP, as addition by subtraction, because that being the best offer for Jaylen Brown, I'm not willing to believe that the league doesn't believe that Jaylen Brown has any real value.
Okay, well, Boston was also pretty good without Jason Tatum most of this season, so I think you can counter that argument fairly easily. Look, what you're saying can absolutely be right. In fact, I do not doubt that inside of Boston's front office, they have conviction that they're going to improve on their team, and they're going to survive this, and we may not see the full vision. Maybe they do something with the picks, whatever. They could internally subscribe to the analysts that had Jaylen Brown is the 7th best player on their team.
Well, that was Brad Stevens.
The fact remains, this is an all-NBA second-team player. and they could believe all those things, what is this return? Or lack thereof, I should say.
The trade is not a surprise. This is what makes it different from the Luka one, but the noise around it is similar in that I'm just stunned that the consensus is this is dumb. This is just, how can the Boston Celtics be so dumb is something that's echoing across the country in a way that just knocked that soccer victory because people are so shocked, not by him being traded, because with Luka, it's just the shock of how do you trade that? That's not what happened here. What happened here is everyone is shocked by how a return that is for a finals MVP. And is it possible? I will ask you guys again. Is it possible that the Celtics know something here about the future of basketball the way they did 3 years ago when they gamed the system and just took 53s a game and won the championship, where they're saying, no, Jaylen Brown, that's a bad contract now.
Yeah, but so you acquired what Bill Simmons dubbed the second worst contract in the league. They could be envisioning a future that has them at the forefront. What part of Paul George connotes future? What? It's a Paul George of this. They only got 2 picks. The plan cannot be Paul George. It simply cannot be we are pairing Paul George with this guy. It has to be some other part of this vision.
I think the Celtics were clearly delusional in what they believed they'd be able to do with Jaylen Brown. For one, we saw the return they just got yesterday. They thought they were going to get Giannis for Jaylen Brown. And instead they got Paul George and 2 likely crappy first-round picks in a few years from now. That's number one. And number two, everything that we've been hearing about Jaylen Brown and the market being light for him was clearly true. It was clearly true. And I don't understand, there's a point that's been made, right, over the last 12 hours where Jaylen Brown did not ask for a trade. That keeps coming out. That's bull semantics, okay? Because Brad Stevens can understand. He can know his team that, hey, we went all in for Giannis. We came up short. The result is Jaylen Brown is going to have to be moved because even though he hasn't asked for a trade, I know the player. I know my team. I can't bring him back now. So that's a bull semantic argument that he never actually requested a trade. Brad Stevens knew this was the point of no return. We had to get rid of him.